and welcome to Markets Forward, your go-to show where we aim to get you all the key data points to gear you up for the next trading day. I'm Ekta Batra and with me is Reema Tendulkar. Reema, well, a day where we did see a recovery from the day's low, but we did still close in the red. However, the advanced decline ratio was positive. The broader markets did fare better than the frontline indices.
Indeed. So for the benchmark indices, we were down close to about 0.5%. The Nifty ending down at 25,839 from the day's lower recovery of close to about 100 odd points. But cumulatively, if you add Monday's fall of 220 points and again today 120 points lower, the Nifty's lost close to about 350 points. As Ekta pointed out, the advanced decline ratio flipped, which was a positive. Because at 10 o'clock, when markets were sort of giving you a sense that this is again going to capitulate, the advanced decline ratio was 1:7. One stock gaining for 7 declining. But by the close of trade, those reversed and the advanced decline ratio was 2:1. We'll talk about the big movers. Here's a quick lineup of what we have for you on our show today. We start with the top movers and shakers as always with Hormuz. US President Trump has threatened additional tariffs on rice imports. Trouble mounts for IndiGo. Regulator has curtailed flight schedule by 5%. But the CEO has come out with a message for the passengers and shareholders. And MotoCorp comes under pressure after its market share declines in the month of December. And then we'll tell you the big events to watch tomorrow.
All right, on to our first segment of the day. Hormuz now joins in to tell us what all the top movers and shakers of the day were. Hormuz, over to you.
Day in the red, but if you want to count it as a positive, you would say it was not as bad as it was yesterday. And a lot of the beaten down sectors saw a bit of a rebound in today's session, PSU banks included, and Bank of India, Canara Bank, Indian Bank, almost all of them ended at the highest point of the day, gains of anywhere between 2 to 2.5%. But IT stocks were the ones that were sulking in today's session, even though the index saw a bit of a recovery from the lows. The IT did not participate in that recovery. Coforge turned negative on a year-to-date basis. Tech Mahindra, HCL Tech, Wipro, all of them, unlike the PSU banks, which ended at the highest point of the day, most of these stocks ended at the day's low. Among some of the newsmakers in today's session, there was insignificant interest in IndiGo. The sharp spike seen in the last few minutes of trade ensured that that 7-day losing streak was snapped. Kaynes Tech, after a 30% fall in 4 sessions, has now gained 14% today, the biggest single-day gain since November of 24. Asian Paints ending at the lowest point of the day, as is MotoCorp, is a negative brokerage note coming in from UBS earlier in the day. And some of the other stocks that ended at a 52-week low in today's session from the broader markets, at Balrampur Chini, HG Infra, Orient Cement, Neogen, all of them ending at the day's low and at 52-week lows as well. And you take a look at some of the other losers from the broader markets, despite the recovery, there were significant losers here as well. Deccan Gold Mines, after announcing its rights issue, has been in a bit of a free fall. E-Clerks, Aether, Saturn Credit Care, all of them seeing losses of anywhere between 2.5 to 5.5%.
Thank you very much for that. And let's get to the other big story. US President Donald Trump has threatened fresh tariffs on rice imports. He's questioned why India is allowed to dump large quantities of rice in the American market without facing additional duties. And the interesting bit is the timing, because the development comes just ahead of US negotiators' visit to India. Manisha is now joining in. Manisha, if this is imposed, how will it impact Indian rice exporters?
Well, yes, after the US president has warned of export tariffs on Indian rice, it has been a sentiment negative for the Indian listed rice stocks there today. But during the day, as we've spoken to more and more people, there's 2 things that has come in sense of realization. 1, US does not grow basmati, and 2, that even with the 50% tariff that US has levied on Indian exports right now, rice exports into US have pretty much continued at a similar pace as well. So when you look at the last 2 years, for example, the Indian rice exports to US only have increased. 2023-24, it was to the tune of $304 million in sense of basmati. In 2024-25, this increased to $337 million, especially for basmati. India does export non-basmati as well, but that's a very small number there. And India, US for India, in that sense, is a 24th largest market, so pretty down when it comes to those rankings there. Not just this, overall India rice exports also have been increasing. We've seen an increase in 2023-24 at around 16 million tons to around 19 million tons in 2024-25, and 2025-26 perhaps could be hitting a record of 23.4 million tons there. Well, over 100 countries grow rice, and out of that, 90% of rice really comes in from the Asian countries. And within this as well, nearly 58% of rice comes in between India and China, and India is the top producer for rice. So this statement coming in from the US President has been, as I said, a negative sentiment therein, but markets do not believe that it would impact too much. One, the US will continue to buy, and two, India really exports to 170 countries, and the demand for various newer countries and newer rice varieties only seems to be increasing.
Thank you very much for that. We have Jay Bala of cashthechaos.com and Sudeep Bandopadhyay of IndiTrade Capital. Sudeep, coming with you. Have you been tracking these rice exporters, the KRBLs, LT Foods of the world? And what is your assessment of the situation? Is this going to be potentially a policy move or maybe pressure tactic ahead of negotiations?
Well, Rima, this is definitely a pressure tactics ahead of negotiation. I think US President also knows that it's not going to move the needle as far as India is concerned. And this is just, some sound bites to facilitate the negotiator from their side. Indian rice is exported widely across the world, as Manisha was just mentioning. And US is not that critical. Of course, it's a good market, and Indian kind of export also goes there. But I think the impact which has actually happened in US market is because of the tariff imposition. The price remains the same, but the tariff has led to increase in retail price in US outlets. And that is only because of the tariff imposition by the US government. As far as this new threat is concerned, I don't think it's going to have any significant impact either on the negotiation or on eventual Indian rice exports.
Okay, all right. So let's see how things progress going forward when it comes to these rice stocks as well as the negotiations between the US and India. But let's focus on a particular stock which was under pressure today. Your two-wheeler major Hero Motor declined nearly 3% after UBS sounded caution over the company's declining market share. According to the brokerage firm, Hero Motors' market share has reduced to 19% in December, so far from 35% in November. Sudarshan has more details. Sudarshan, over to you.
So after having a good 2 to 3 months on the back of healthy festive season and the strong demand post GST rate cut, it seems that Hero MotoCorp may lose market share in the month of December. As per the brokerage firm UBS, in the first week of December, Hero MotoCorp's retail market share in the domestic market has come down to 19% versus 35% that company had seen in the month of November 2025. Also, its market share has fallen in the last 2 weeks as well. It has fallen to 29% versus 35% that it had seen in the same period last month. If you take a look at the stock performance, it has been one of the top outperformers amongst all the two-wheeler companies in 2025. Stock recently hit record high. It has gained as much as 50% in 2025, and majority of those gains in the stock price came after 15th August of 2025. Remember, that was the day when PM Modi had announced GST rate cut, and following that, this stock along with other two-wheeler names had seen a huge surge, but Hero MotoCorp was the biggest outperformer. We'll have to see how the next few months pan out for Hero MotoCorp, but historically also after festive season, Hero MotoCorp does lose a bit of market share.
Okay, all right, Sudarshan, thanks very much for that. So Hero Motor was down around 2.7% in today's trade. Jay, coming to you with regards to Hero Motor, if you look at it on a year-to-date basis, it's still an outperformer. Would it be a buying opportunity technically at these levels?
No, not yet. Ekta had projected 5,500 to 6,300 for Hero Motors in August, and it's done that. It's exceeded that marginally. Although the medium to long-term picture suggests that there could be further highs to come through, but in the short term, having achieved my objective of 6,300 and slightly exceeded that, I think it's due for a reasonable sized pullback. So not yet a buying opportunity, probably somewhere around 5,600 to 5,200 mark.
I remember last time you'd spoken about Maruti because you were quite bullish on Maruti Suzuki. So you like that, but not Hero as of now. But let's talk about Kaynes Tech, because that snapped a 2-day losing streak and jumped 15%. And this is after Macquarie maintained its outperform rating, target price 7,700. Upasana is now joining in to tell us what exactly Macquarie had to say about all the issues surrounding irregularities. There were question marks raised on the company's balance sheet. So let's hear out the other side with Macquarie's view.
Well, the stock continued to remain in focus today as well as the brokerages turned positive. If you look at the Bloomberg consensus rating, buy 54%, hold 31% and sell by 15%. Now, if we look at overall all the brokerages on Kaynes, the highest target price is given by Macquarie with an outperform rating and a target price of 7,700. GM Financial has given a buy of 5,400. Investec has given a sell rating with a target price of 3,750. Now, let us see what Macquarie has to say. It believes that no irregularities have been seen, but management will need to take effort to regain investor confidence. Company has defended itself against the reporting of accounting irregularities by accepting disclosure shortfalls, but brokerage believes that the management's clarification sounded reasonable. It sees strong cash flow generation and organic growth, and also feels that a change of auditor is needed to restore confidence amongst investors. Today itself, Kaynes has clarified on the back of the money control report of change in company's auditors. The company has clarified that no such decision to change the statutory auditor is under consideration. Hence, these are all the developments that happened today in terms of Kaynes Technology seeing such a sharp move in today's trading session.
Indeed, and the other big story is Interglobe Aviation. Still in the spotlight, aviation regulator DGCA has ordered the airline to reduce its flight by 5% across all the sectors. The airline currently operates about 2,300 daily flights. The new order will mean a reduction of about 115 flights daily. The aviation watchdog has also asked the airline to submit a revised winter schedule by tomorrow. Shivani is now joining in with more details.
Well, absolutely. You know, the DGCA 5% curtailment order came this morning today. So they've asked IndiGo to cut down flights and also slots on major routes and asked them to cut it by 5%, which means, as you rightly pointed out, 110 to 115 flights. Remember that winter season is a very busy season for all the airline players. So how IndiGo is going to do that, we'll have to wait and watch. Now, DGCA has asked the airline to submit a new winter schedule in the middle of this entire thing by tomorrow, which is 10th December in the evening. On the other hand, the IndiGo CEO Peter Albers in a video message said that the flight operations are now stabilizing. So 500 cancellations yesterday. Today, the CEO has said that there are 400 cancellations. So the airline is getting back up on its feet, but DGCA is tightening the nook clearly by ordering the curtailment of flights, and this is not the end of it, because sources tell us that there could be further curtailment depending on the new winter schedule and how the airline performs from here on.
Okay, all right. Thanks very much for bringing us that update on IndiGo. Well, Sudeep, just wanted your quick take on it.
Well, I think IndiGo is in for a challenging time. Things, though in the ground, may be settling down. As far as regulatory action is concerned, I think it's just the beginning. They will be forced to accept a lot more competition. Allowing them to run with 65% market share and getting into this kind of chaos cannot be allowed by the regulator. Look at what's happening in the telecom. I think the regulator and the government has been bending backwards to ensure Vodafone's survival so that we don't get into a duopoly kind of a situation. I think the same kind of arrangement, same kind of initiative needs to be taken in the aviation sector to prevent one airline from having this kind of control over the sector and, create the kind of chaos we witnessed last week. So I think there is much more to come. And at this stage, I think it's better to stay away from Interglobe Aviation. Yes, there was a recovery today, but I think it's better to stay away. We will see much more action. And, losing market share, which they will definitely, is not good for the stock, not good for the shareholders as well.
Thank you, Sudeep and Jeff, for joining us on the show. Need to get into a break. On the other side, top corporate voices lined up and the big events to watch.
26 years of CNBC-TV18. "26 years of CNBC-TV18.
Welcome back. Let's get to the top corporate voices. Now, Titan expects a stronger second half of the year, supported by a good festive season. The management told CNBC TV18 that a big push in the exchange business has been a clear growth driver for buyers. Titan added its portfolio strategy is playing out well across brands, with a sharper focus on increasing market share with the new age buyers.
Kalpataru Projects is looking at order inflows of around 28 to 30,000 crores for FY26. EBITDA margins are expected to come in at 9 to 11% range. It recently secured a 3,800 crore order from a South India-based developer and currently has under 10 million square feet under development. The management told CNBC TV18 that labor availability remains a challenge, but expects a top-line growth of about 20%.
And before we wrap, let's get you the key events to watch tomorrow. Vinny is standing by.
Hi, so in key events on the global front, let's talk about the US markets first, right? In the US, we're keeping an eye out on the FOMC rate decision that'll come in tomorrow evening. Then we do have the ADB, that's the Asian Development Bank Economic Outlook update that comes in. Now, this comes in every quarter, so we'll be keeping an eye out on that as well in terms of important updates there. Apart from that, in other countries, China, we'll watch out for the inflation data. Japan also, we'll watch out for the PPI data, as well as in the ECB's president, Christine Lagarde, will be speaking as well. So any highlight on that front will be key to watch out for. Do not forget, Microsoft CEO is going to be visiting India. So that is something, any key updates in terms of AIs. He's going to be likely to be meeting some government officials as well. So that will be key to watch out for. Now, on the IPO front in the domestic market, we're watching out for 3 listings tomorrow: Meesho, Equus, as well as Vidya Buyers, which will be listing on the exchanges. Other than that, IPO will be closing for Corona Remedies. We have a Nephrocare Health, which is opening for IPO tomorrow, as well as Wakelift Innovations. IPO closes tomorrow as well. Corporate action, a small one, Credit Access Grameen. The board will be meeting to consider some fundraising plans. So that is what we'll keep an eye out on. And lastly, in other events, US trade delegations led by Deputy USTR Rick is going to be visiting India. So that is important in terms of any updates on the trade front will come in there, as well as on IndiGo. The DGCA has asked IndiGo to submit a revised winter schedule by 5 p.m. tomorrow. So key to watch out for in terms of
Right, sounds like an extremely busy Wednesday. Thanks, Vinny, for that. And on that note, it's also a wrap on this edition of Markets Forward. We'll be back with more news and updates.
"26 years of CNBC-TV18. 26 years of CNBC-TV18.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us on Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The Sensex and the Nifty close in the red despite a late recovery. The Sensex down over 400 points. The Nifty holds above 25,800. Mid-caps outperform the blue chips today. IndiGo's daily flight cancellations at 400 compared to 500 yesterday. The airline CEO says operations are stable and the airline is back on its feet. The aviation regulator cuts IndiGo's flights by